Hello, this is Durikchu, and this is going to be Flowers from Us. Here's a real quick summary. Kaminari Denki isn't stupid. Things are a little jumbled in his head, and sometimes he forgets things. Then there are those times where he doesn't think his actions through all the way. Can he really be blamed for Aizawa-sensei assuming the flowers from the class were from Mic-sensei? Kaminari Denki wasn't dumb. He sometimes lost track of things, had a hard time with remembering directions, got bored easily, fell deep into ideas that didn't matter, and so on. Denki knew things, just not the things that he was meant to know. Reading something and memorizing it never really worked for him. He could read it 6 times and still have a hard time recalling the information. The frustrating part was that he just couldn't remember what he was supposed to do. It slipped through his fingers like sand. That was the saying, right? Was it grasping at straws? Is it straw like hay or straw like the things you drink out of? Can you use hay like a straw? Wait. Point being, Denki wasn't dumb. A little airheaded or forgetful, but not stupid. Another issue was that he didn't always think his actions through. He just thought of things and went straight to acting on the thought. Is that lack of impulse control? Some people have called him dense, but would that be the same as just saying what he thinks? Is that why Midoriya mumbles? Is that an impulse, or is just how he thinks? Anyways, he had the idea. He'd gotten approval from the class reps too. Thank you. To get flowers for Aizawa-sensei from the class. It was cheesy that his class would be giving him flowers as a sign of affection. But the man lived a sad, lonely life. His students could do something small to maybe make his Valentine's Day a little bit brighter. Yaoyorozu was kind enough to make the flowers, because it wasn't as if they could leave campus easily. Denki had arrived to class early to drop the flowers off on the podium for their teacher, fixed the arrangement a little, and took a seat. Ida didn't question his early arrival, and Katsuki paid him no mind. None of them spoke about the flowers. Slowly, the rest of their class trickled in. Mina and Hagakure were curious about the flowers, and searching them for a note or card saying who the flowers were from. Denki honestly did not think about a card, because who else would give Aizawa-sensei flowers? Plus, their teacher would probably just ask, and then Ida would say they were from the class. No big problem. Or it wasn't supposed to be a problem. When their teacher opened the door, they were all in their seats and quiet. The pro must have spotted the flowers right away, as he had paused in the doorway. There was a flicker of pride that he made their teacher pause. Aizawa-sensei was probably so surprised that someone would get him flowers that the flowers, vase and all, crashed to the ground. Denki hadn't seen the man move, but he had stalked over to the flowers, grabbed them, and dropped them to the floor. Almost like a pissed-off cat with his hair puffed up. It was almost like his quirk was trying to activate, but he wasn't activating it, leaving it in this weird limbo. Midoriya has to be taking notes on this, right? He was honestly too scared shitless to even glance over to check. The room was silent as their teacher glared at where the flowers probably were behind the podium. None of them were brave enough to speak. Aizawa-sensei gave them a sweeping death glare. Aizawa-sensei gave them a sweeping death glare, assuring complete destruction if any of them made so much as a peep. Denki was too scared to even itch his nose. Why was their teacher so mad about the flowers? Was he allergic? Can flowers made from a quirk still set off people's allergies? It's all about the pollen or whatever. So would Yagirozu have to create the flowers with pollen on them? It's not vital to a flower to being a flower, right? Pollen is for flowers to breed or whatever in their weird... Is pollen like a flower's... Ugh. Ugh. That stuff is everywhere. Can he just be like allergic so that his body reacts in some weird way to drain all the fluids that catch that stuff out of his body? That's what happens, right? Wait. Bees walk around in that stuff? Or are bees just like freaky little bugs? Does that make honey some weird collection of flowers' pollen? Which is like their weird way of getting it on with each other. People eat honey too. Don't people think that it's a little weird? His thoughts are cut off when the door slams open and Present Mike is in the doorway, looking chipper as always and ready to rock out in English. Then he's being slammed up against the wall, wrapped in Aizawa-sensei's capture weapon. Denki wasn't dumb enough to ask. See, he isn't stupid. He is a coward and wants to shit himself when their teacher growls out, "Why did you go back on our agreement?" Their English teacher moved his mouth to speak, but even as his lips moved, no sound emerged. "Hizashi, we agreed that with Hell Class, we weren't even going to joke about flowers, chocolate, cards, or anything." Oh, their teacher was pissed. Why did he think Mic-sensei was the one to give him the flowers, though? He assumed they were friends with how they, or at least Mic-sensei, teased each other and seemed to spend time existing around each other. It wasn't all the time, but there were times Mic-sensei would hang out at their dorms. They almost never saw any of the other teachers at their dorms. Denki's drawn out of his thoughts again by their English teacher being pulled away from the wall and slammed back into it. It sounded painful, but it also seemed to shake a few of his classmates out of their collective terror. Midoriya and Ida were on their feet. Ida let out a loud, "Sir," while Midoriya said nothing, but was supposed to move in a moment's notice. Their teacher turned, quirk active, and glared at his class. Behind them, there was a faint cough, then... "Show? What flowers? I didn't give you flowers. I would have put them in the teacher's lounge if I did." There's a flicker in Aizawa-sensei's eyes, and his angry expression dropped. Slowly, he turned back to the pinned man, loosened the capture scarf, and probably dipped his chin into the fabric as if to hide his expression. Weird. Why would Present Mike get Aizawa-sensei flowers anyway? It'd be pretty weird for friends to give each other flowers, wouldn't it? Too many eyes were on him. So many faces were giving him some weird look. Oh, he must have said something out loud. Thank you, Ida, for drawing everyone's attention by clearing his throat. Ah, yes. It would be a little awkward for our teachers to be giving one another flowers on a day representing love. It was our mistake, Sensei, that we did not make it clear, but we wanted to express our gratitude towards you and gift you flowers. We, in our own way, care a lot about you, Sensei. Ida bows sharply. As a teacher, guardian, and hero, we appreciate everything you do. In that way, we love you. Thank you for guiding us. Several students stand and bow, with the rest of them following shortly after. A chorus of thank you Aizawa-senseis rings out across the room. Then, like well-trained students, they sit back in their seats and quietly wait. Sniffles can be heard across the room. Collectively, they must be giving him a questioning look as the hero steps back to reveal a crying Mic-sensei. Listeners, that's so sweet of you all. The heart and soul you all brought. He wipes the tears away, but more fall. Show! Mic-sensei covers his eyes with the palms of his hands. Show, they're such little sweethearts. A full-on sob comes from their blonde teacher. Whoops. So, why did Aizawa-sensei think the flowers were from Mic-sensei? The dark-haired teacher sends him a glare, but his face seems to have a little more color than usual. Mina chimes in with, yeah, Sensei, why do you think the flowers were from him? Hagakuri adds a, yeah. Denki has to wonder if their teacher, as an underground hero, knows how to hide a body. Surely he's had to investigate some gnarly crimes, so he's bound to have seen some very clever ways of destroying evidence, right? Aizawa-sensei uses knives. So would he cut him up into smaller pieces, or would he just wrap him up tightly in a scarf as if he were caught in a spider's web? Wow, that'd be so cool if their teacher turned into a giant spider, and consumed someone. Not him, because that would be so cool. Yeah, his hair would grow super fast, wrap around his body, and then the hair would form 8 legs. Oh, and if his quirk was active, he'd be a giant hair monster with glowing red eyes. So cool. Because Mike is a hopeless romantic that shows love and affection with grand gestures, like a peacock showing off or a penguin giving shiny rocks. The brighter, shinier, and larger, the better. Even if the recipient isn't entirely on board with it. There's a gasp, and Mic-sensei is pushing the other hero back to be the center of their attention. Well, Eraser shows his love like a cat, leaving dead mice and bugs around with no warning they're there. It's cute when things appear, but it's sometimes easy to miss. An arm swings for the blonde, but he sidesteps it and gives a large grin to the other man. Ah, Eraser gets all embarrassed like... Their English teacher is on the floor via a kick. It was kinda strange. They were talking about love languages. In a way, they both give gifts in extremely different ways. Should they know each other's love languages? Denki isn't quite sure he knows any of his friends' love languages. Is it one of those things you casually ask another person? Mina stands abruptly and points at their homeroom teacher. So you thought the flowers were from Mic-sensei because he loves you? Silence. Then, yeah. I know he shows it in ways that aren't always easy for me to accept. Communicating is important, and compromises are often necessary when you choose to be together. So yes, Ashido, I would hope my husband loves me, but also respect my boundaries when we've discussed it and agreed upon it. As if what he said wasn't anything special, their homeroom teacher strolls out of the classroom. Mic-sensei is on his hands and knees with one hand outstretched. Show, you can't drop a bombshell on them and leave them for me to deal with. Show! He then scrambles to his feet, clears his throat, smiles at them, and shoots finger guns at them. Let's get to English then. Mina opens her mouth, but the blonde cuts her off. Questions can only be asked in English, and answers will be provided in the most backwater dialect I can think of. In perfect English, Todoroki questions, "Which one of you are pregnant?" There's a moment of silence as their teacher gapes at the student's question. What? Which one of you are pregnant? Or did one of you already have the baby? People only get married when they have children. One of them are pregnant. Or one partner buys the other from their family. Oh. Which one of you were purchased from your families then? I take it back. No questions, Todoroki, kid. We're going to have a chat later because there is a lot to unpack there. Huh. He never denied one of them being pregnant before or currently. Mic-sensei does have some extreme mood swings. He was crying earlier, and then he was okay. Aizawa-sensei. It's kind of hard to see him having mood swings. Denki's eyes land on the English teacher's stomach. He does have a lot of padding that long-range fighters don't really need. No way that he's chunkier and all that leather. And as a fellow pro hero, Aizawa-sensei wouldn't let him slack on training, so... Holy shit, Mic-sensei, you're pregnant? Denki wasn't dumb. He could connect the dots. Yeah, and that was Flowers from Us. Kind of a goofy little story I wrote for Valentine's Day. I know that there's cultural differences between Japan and the US and all that jazz, but I kind of didn't feel like being overly accurate and accounting for White Day and all that jazz. So, yeah. Woo. Thanks for listening. Bye.